Yes, we can.
Great. We just wanted to give a few minutes for people to join, but I'm glad to see everyone who is able to make it, whether it's evening your time, afternoon, or morning. My name is Anna, and I work in the Young Leadership and iLink division at Karen Hayesod in Jerusalem. It's great to have you joining us from all over the world. Just want to, two quick reminders. If you can remember to keep your mic muted, just so we don't have any background noise throughout the lecture. And also, if you can view the lecture from speaker's view, it will make for a much better and more interactive experience. You'll see a button at the top of the screen that will allow you to switch it to speaker's view. So as some of you may have joined us for previous sessions, I'm thrilled that you're back here with us for another lecture. If you don't know, Interconnection is a webinar series which was an initiative that started in our Young Leadership Division in hopes of providing the greater Karen Hayesod worldwide family with meaningful content and an opportunity to really learn from and connect with leading experts on the most pressing issues facing today's society. And I'm thrilled that today we have a very unique lecture, quite different from all the lectures we've had in the past. It will be interactive and it will take you into the world of music and innovation, and it will provide you with an understanding really for both sides of Dr. Orit Wolf's work. And it's my honor to introduce you today to today's distinguished lecturer, Dr. Orit Wolf. Orit possesses a unique set of skills. She is an acclaimed international concert pianist, executive mentor, senior lecturer, and an expert business consultant in the area of innovative thinking and creative marketing. By the age of 23, she had already acquired 3 summa cum laude degrees from Tel Aviv University, Boston University, and the Royal Academy of Music, winning numerous international awards. She was then offered teaching positions at Leeds University, Tel Aviv University, Lahav Business School, and the Schenker Institute. Dr. Orit Wolf lectures in music and management, creative marketing, and interpersonal communication, both in Israel and abroad. And her vast exposure to varied audiences, her unique vitality, have made her one of the most sought-after lecturers in her field. Her projects in innovation and creative marketing have won numerous prizes of distinction for their originality. In 1999, she founded Creative Business Solutions, supplying consulting services to a variety of international firms, both in developing products and in building innovative marketing systems. And in 2010, The Marker, a financial magazine, chose her as one of the most influential personas of the year. Based here in Israel, she divides her time between a demanding concert career, conducting master classes worldwide, as well as being an active guest lecturer and mentor for leaders. And you can see her international TED lecture called Play the Keynote of Your Life. And since 2017, she teaches leadership for stage performers at the Royal Academy of Music in London. In 2018, she received the Rosenblum Prize for Outstanding Artist and is currently writing a book, The Language of the Creative Mind. So it is my honor, Dr. Orit Wolf. Thank you for joining us today, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very, very much, Anna, and welcome everyone. This is a beautiful introduction, and I'm very happy to be with you. May I just ask you before we begin, I'd love to see your faces and the spark of your eyes. So if you don't mind, open the cameras if you can. That will be much nicer for me to, oh, that's lovely, to see your faces. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And don't bother how you look or what you do. It's totally fun. Bring a drink, bring something to eat, have a wine or coffee, whatever time it is for you, and join us. And after such a beautiful introduction, I want to do it a very different lecture. It's not a lecture, it's more of a conversation. And we're going to speak about how to leave a mark, how to leave a personal mark in such a jungle time, such a post-corona, it's not even post, in a corona time for everyone. And it's a pleasure to know that you all come together at the very same time. Here it's 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm sure that we have some people in the morning time or very, very late in the middle of the night, and you're still with us, which is making us really hugged. Let's start with some music. I can't play it too long because the Zoom platform is not for long music parts, but I'd love to just dive into the sounds and play you some Chopin, all right? And since I can't see or hear any feedback, I'd love to encourage you, before we begin, to write me chats all the time. Use the chat, use the box, write whatever you like, and I will leave about 15 minutes time in the end for questions and answers. All right? Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. This was just an introduction and tiny bit of Chopin Fantasine from T. And I think sounds are really making us more connected. And I'd love to start with my first quotation of the 50% law. The 50% law says the following: we listen to 50% of what people talk to us, and we remember 50% of what we listened to. So how much are we staying, or how much are we left with after each event? Would you chat and write to me, how much are we left with? I see half of you haven't listened to me. Okay, I'd love to get your chats. I don't see them yet. Please. Okay, how many are we? Let's just watch how many, 30 people. Okay, so at the maximum of every event, and this will be the core sentence before we begin, at the maximum of every event, whether it's a concert, whether it's a lecture, a conference, a film we're going to, a play we're going to watch, a book we're going to read, we are taking it the maximum 25% in content. We don't want to admit it. We want to say, of course, I remember everything. But if I ask you about 3 months after you read a good book, you know, did you read that book? And you'll say, yes. Excellent. And the next question will be, what is it about? What is it really about? And here we're mostly stuck, and you usually say, well, I quite forgot what it is about, but it was great. So basically what I'm trying to say here before we start our lecture is really what people take from every event. Do they take the content, or do they take the experience? You see how much I need your feedbacks and how much I need to see your faces. What do people take? Experience. Yes. Thank you so much, Ilan, for writing this. Yes, that's true. So basically, I hope we take also content, right? But we live in an era that even if you're not inside a class, or even if you miss something, it's so easy to grab the content. But it's much more difficult to grab an experience or to create an experience. How many times do we go for a lecture and we see people reading from a piece of paper, or just so much depending on their PowerPoint presentation, right, on their computer? And if something happened to their computer or the electricity goes off, you know, they're really panicking. So really mainly what I'm trying to say is that my main issue in life, my main goal in life is really to teach people how to leave a mark and how to live an experience, not just to live the content, because content is really simple to gain, but experience is much harder. And since I was very young, I was so eager to know, since I was age 4, and I'll tell you my story, I was so eager to know what are the traits of those who leave a mark behind. And the reason I'm saying this, because when I was 4, I received a present from my mother to my birthday. it was in the 70s, and she got me 2 LP recordings. One of them was music by children from all over the world, and the other one was Arthur Rubinstein, the greatest piano master, playing with the English Chamber Orchestra, the best orchestra really in London, the 2 piano concerti by Mozart, number 21, number 23. And I listened to it so much, but the problem was, when we got home, there was one big problem. There was no patephone in the house. There was no recording platform to hear those recordings. I would go to Linda, the neighbor next door, and I would ask her at the age of 4, could I sit quietly and listen to my recordings if it's possible? And she would say yes. She opened her door to me. She said, come in any day, listen anytime. And if somebody would have told me that 16 years later, I would find myself playing the very same piano concerti by Mozart with the very same orchestra, the English Chamber Orchestra in London, I would never believe it. But it did happen. It did happen, and I really fulfilled the dream. And I want to tell you my journey, because it was not a journey of success. You know, Anna read such beautiful resume, but the amount of competitions I won was quite nice. But the amount of competitions I didn't win is much longer. But nobody talks about failures. Nobody talks about no success. Nobody talks about the times when you get off competitions and when you don't get the prize you're trying to get. So I'm going to talk about those moments that we fail and how we can make the failure into a real opportunity for new success. But I want to go back to Arthur Rubinstein, who made a mark. Because when I was listening to him at the age of 4 playing, I fell in love with the sound. I felt there's something there that he really left a big mark. And I really dedicated my life to understand what's so special about those who have special sound, special mark, not just in music making, but in so many different areas. So today, what I'd love to give you today is really 7 attributes, 7 characteristics, 7 traits that each one of us can take home and really understand how you can leave a mark anywhere you go with anyone you want. So it's not just about music. I want to start with something really important. You know, the Bank of England is not just a bank. It's one of the most prominent research institutes in the world. And in 2016, this is something that is nice to write down about. In 2016, much before the coronavirus has spread, they came out with a really terrifying research. And they said the following. They said, in 10 years' time, in 1 decade, 40% of companies in the Fortune 500 companies will not survive. I repeat, in decade, meaning in 2026, they said 40% of Fortune 500 firms are not going to survive. That's a horrifying sentence and a horrifying research. And people say, how come? You know, they are the best companies, they are the richest companies. How come they will not survive? They're selling the best services, the best products. And the answer is now understood better than any time because of the corona. And the answer is that the companies that are going to sell services or products only are not going to survive. But the ones who are going to sell services and to sell products, but sell values, those are the ones who are going to stick out. So it's not just important to sell something to others, but really to sell your values, to know what's your values. And most people and most organizations are not necessarily know their core values. And even if they know, they're not emphasizing it, or they don't know how to market their values. And we need to understand that trends are changing, and needs are changing, and desires of peoples are changing, and professions are changing. Look what happened in the last 10 months. Lots of new professions are getting up, and lots of other professions are going down. So really what it is for us is to learn how to place and understand and emphasize our value. And this is going to be our journey. And the first sentence for us is really to remember that we want to live in experience. We don't just want to live the content. And we want to do things by disruption. The word disruption is what is going to lead us to what we do. And I want to explain this through the music. I want to tell you the story that once I came to the Royal Academy of Music, to the audition, and I sit next to the piano and I played my repertoire. I prepared so much. And the head of the judges said, Orit Wolf, could you please play us the Beethoven Sonata that you prepared for us? And I said, sure. And they said, can you play the Moonlight Sonata for us? I said, oh, sure, of course. And I'm coming to the piano, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, that's so easy. Everybody can play the Moonlight Sonata. And all of a sudden, one judge is like, thank you very much. Could you do us a favor? He says to me, could you please play it fast and loud? And I'm thinking to myself, what? Fast and loud? This music is not fast and loud. This music is so beautiful and caressing and intimate and slow and delicate. How can I play it fast and loud? And they wanted to see, and this is the special thing about this Royal Academy plays, they wanted to see how much I can cope with disruptions. And here I am finding myself on real time, no time to think, in front of 5 judges in the Duke's Hall of the Royal Academy playing like this. The very same music, but differently. I thought I'm done with it. And then the same judge said to me, could you please play this without your piano bench? I said, what? And they said again, yes, you heard me right. Could you please take off your piano stool, your piano bench, and just play while you're standing up? And again, I thought to myself, what's going on here? They really went mad. How can I play without using the pedal? If I stand up, I can't be supported by the pedals and by the real sitting. And I find myself getting up and playing this again, fast, loud, while I'm standing up. It's not easy. So then they said to me, okay, now you can sit down, have a seat, it's okay. And I thought I'm done. And then the worst came. And then the same person said to me, could you please play your left hand, play the right hand, and the right hand play the left hand? So really switch hands, please. Wow, that was really scary. And I was terrified, but here I am finding myself playing like this. I hope you can see, you can't see, let me try and really make the piano so you can actually watch my hands. This is really difficult. I really swatch my hand. So when I finish and they say thank you, I realized they did something very special there. They're not wanting to be a place for musicians. They don't want to just get another musician. They want to really find the next artists. And the meaningful difference between an artist or musician is a huge difference. It's really a huge difference. So what I'm trying to say to you is that they are teaching us from a very young age and still do. And that's why I'm so happy to be part of their faculty today and also teach leadership for stage performers and of course for leaders who are not musicians, is really to find a way that we can cope with disruptions online and still find something very beautiful and very meaningful. And this is not easy. This is not easy. But I want to show you another example of how we can really create something in a different way and leave a mark by the piano. So again, the piano is just a metaphor. It's not about what we're talking about, but it's a beautiful metaphor to see what I mean. Because each one has a title of a job. Each one of you who are staying with us now has a job or has a title. It can be a VP R&D, it can be VP of marketing, it can be, you know, any title, a teacher of history. But we have the power to shape and make our job in a different personal mark than others. And let me show you through the music. I'm going to play a piece that you all know in 3 different ways. And you're going to vote, okay? And you can raise your hands while I ask you which one you love the most, okay? So number 1. Number 1 is going to be like this. Okay, the Bach prelude number 1. We tried number 1. Now we're doing number 2. And we do number 3. Thank you. So let's do a vote. Who liked number 1? Please, you can raise your hands or you can vote. Okay, all right. I want to just switch to gallery and really watch everyone. Great. Who liked number 2? Who liked number 3? I wish you can see whole the gallery. Wow. All right. Okay. So I'm actually glad some of you like number 1 and number 2, because most times I only have people who love number 3. And this is very interesting. And I'm glad you have different perspectives. But I want to share with you something interesting. If I would play number 3 in an international piano competition, I would be kicked out. I would be kicked out. Yes, you hear correctly. First of all, I'm not in the age of competitions anymore. I don't like competitions, but it's until 32, 33, the maximum. If you reach 33 and you haven't won a competition, you have a problem. You have to find a different way to market yourself. And I believe there are many ways to do it, but the market of competitions is between 18 to 32. That's it. That's it. But most people, if I would play number 3 in international piano competition, I'll be kicked out. And the reason is that I played it very what? How would you say, what was number 3? What style was it? You don't have to understand anything in music, but what was it? What's special about number 3? Why did you like it so much? Most of you. Betty. I
Emotional. Emotional.
Yes, David, thank you so much. Now, Betty, I have to hear you.
And I play piano also, and I play serenade of Bach, and it's my pleasure to know the 3 and now the other 2. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yes, it was very emotional. I played with you can't see my legs, but it was the pedal, and it's very surreal and legato and passionate, you know, in much 19th century Chopin style, very romantic. Now, why would we be kicked out? Because most judges in competitions say that Bach, who wrote this music in 1724, 1742, he didn't have the grand piano like we have today. He didn't have those effects of beautiful sounds, round sound. He had the cembalo, he had the organ, and those instruments could never play like this so romantically. So most judges do not like that we change the authenticity of playing. So they'll go for number 1 or number 2, by the way. But this is not the argument. The argument is totally different. It's not about music. Don't be confused. I just wanted to show you how by the same notes, I can make you feel differently. How by the same notes, which is notes are just similar to jobs, you can actually leave a different mark. You can create different emotions. You can create a different experience with people by the same job that you have. So it doesn't matter if you like number 1 or number 3 or number 2. It's not the idea. The idea is that I can take the same notes and deliver it differently and create different experience and emotions. And each one can do it in his own hands, in his own mentality. And I want to show you something else, because most people go to work, they don't actually do the job. And if I can take a Chopin nocturne and I will play you in 2 different ways, you tell me which one is better. Is it nice? No, it's not nice. It's technical. Let's do the same thing, but differently. Sounds different? Do you hear the difference? Do you hear the difference? So it's really not about being a musician again. You don't have to know music. You have to feel people and you have to feel the sounds. And you know, it's all about the music behind what we do. Music is in every position, in every job that we do. And some people don't understand what I'm saying, but you saw it so beautifully here. And you know, today, this afternoon, I went to buy some funny, the shops are open finally in Israel, and I had to buy my kids some clothes, the winter clothes, because it's getting cold here and they had nothing to wear. So I'm going into a shop and the woman says to me, "Can I help you?" And you know, the words were fine, the words were polite, but the sounds, the music behind the words were terrifying. So I was like, no, thank you, and I left. And this is what I'm talking about. Each one of us has a narrative, but each one of us has the melody and the music behind the words. And we can actually control the music. We can control the melody. We can make it differently. We can make it our own. So this is something that I really like to share with you because, you know, music is not about, I'll tell you a little bit about my life because my teacher used to say to me always, you know, one day you don't practice, you know it. 2 days you don't practice, I will know it. 3 days you don't practice, your audience will know it. So it's really a very, I would say, not a rewarding profession because there's no connection between how much you invest and how much you receive. Between investment and results, there is nothing connecting there. And still, it's a very passionate profession to choose. Now, why do I do both music and innovation, both music and leadership? How did I get to the two professions and how it's connected together? I want to tell you the story that really changed my life. It was when I was 12 years old. I go on stage for a live recording in the radio, and I prepared a whole recital all by heart. And what's the worst that can happen to a musician? What's the worst thing that can happen? You tell me. After a few minutes that I start playing, and it was a very virtuosic music. Yes, I played like. I'm playing some Schubert, and after a few minutes, I have a terrible blackout. A terrible blackout. I forgot the music. Yes. Thank you, Ilan. I forgot the music. I forgot the notes. I stopped, and it was a live recording to the radio. You know, the hundreds and thousands and, you know, dozens of people are listening to me, and I don't know what to do. And I stopped playing. And I remember the shame, and I remember the frustration and the sadness and being so embarrassed. You know, how come it can happen to me? I was practicing, as people told me, 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day I was practicing. How can it happen to me? And then I realized that I was so taught, like many other people in other professions, not just in music, I was so taught just not to make mistakes. Nobody taught me what to do when the mistakes actually happen. And we are now in a Corona time, mistakes are happening, problems are happening, you know, being in uncertainty is happening. We didn't expect it, we didn't plan it, it wasn't in our view, it happened. And I realized that if I will not learn to improvise, I will never be ready for the real time. So I started to learn to improvise and to take any music. Let's say even I take the Bach. Something like this. I don't know what I did, but I just improvised on the same Bach that you just heard before. So I realized if I don't learn to improvise, I have nothing to find on stage. It's not the right profession because you can work and practice so many days and so many hours for 5 minutes music, and it can still go wrong. It can still go wrong. So you have to have a special backup and a special strength and a special skill that no matter what will happen, you can actually function in real time. And then I realized that there's something in the brain of musicians that are coping with real-time performance, because improvisation is performance and composition at the very same time. I realized it can really take other people and other professions into a real understanding of leadership, how to act on the now, how to act differently and innovatively and disruptively on the now. And since then, I dedicated my life to give lectures to many organizations and firms that are not connected at all to music, and give them consulting of how to break the patterns and how to leave their mark and how to be disruptive intentionally to create a specialty. So what I'd love to do with you today, and by the way, before I begin, I have to tell you something. Disruptions happen all the time. We can't avoid them. We need to cope with them. And you know, just the other day, before the corona, I went to a very special place in the north of Israel to give a concert. And I always come early, about 2 hours before, and I see this beautiful grand piano, Steinway, the best brand of pianos. And then something terrible happened. I opened the piano, it was closed. I opened the lid of the piano, and I'm shocked because this C sharp, this black key in the middle is gone, no C sharp. Now, can you play a whole recital and a concert without the black middle key? You can't. And then I look around and I see that the black key is right there. Here, you can see here, right there, is waiting for me. And I'm calling David, the head of the stage, and I said, David, we've got a problem. You have to ask a piano tuner to come right away to tune the piano, to fix the missing C sharp so I can play the concert. And he says to me, without being embarrassed at all, he said to me, I don't know who you are, I don't know where you come from, but here in the north part of Israel, this hour, no piano tuners, you'll have to manage somehow. And I'm telling him, David, I can't manage, I'm sorry, you know, no C sharp in the middle, it's not the end, it's not the beginning, I can't manage. You have to call somebody urgently, because remember, a grand piano costs about $200,000. So it's a lot of money. It's about $250,000. You can't just touch it. You can't just place the C sharp anywhere you want with any glue that you find. And he said to me, he sat down in my bench and looks at me like, do this. What's your name? I said, Orit Wolf. He said, Orit, listen to me, Orit. How much you have here? He looks at me, does this. How much you have here? 100? One less, who cares? You'll manage. One less, who cares? And I'm looking at it, I'm shocked. And then I realized that I have to improvise and I have to act on the now and I have to be innovative and creative. And I tell him, David, listen, you don't tell anyone. You're going to bring a glue wherever you find it and we're going to stick the glue so there is going to be a concert. And we did it. We stick the glue, we stick the C sharp back into the right place. I will never tell you which place it, otherwise I'll be sued. But we act on the now. Those things happen all the time. Those things happen all the time. And what do I do when my partner forget the notes or skip 2 pages ahead? There's so many stories I can tell you about how we are trained to be innovative and creative on the now. But now what I'd love to do with you is really give the 7 habits or the 7 characteristics or the 7 traits of those who leave a mark, because each one of us can use it. But before we do it, we have to answer 4 questions. Every persona and every organization, whether you're behind an organization or behind yourself as a mentor, as a key person, as a, you know, each one of you, I'm sure, is doing amazing things. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here in this special Zoom time tonight for Keren Yesod. So each one of us has to ask himself or herself 4 questions. Question number 1 is, who am I? Question number 2 is, what am I? Or who am I, or what do I do? Question number 3 is, how am I? And the most important one is number 4, why am I? Now, it sounds very simple, but it's not simple, because most people fall into the trap of just speaking about what they do. So when you ask somebody, can you tell me a bit about yourself? They usually say, okay, I work here, I worked in the past in that place. That's what they say. It's very comfortable to be number 2, to say what you do or what you did, but nobody talks about who they are, how they are, and why they are. Now, if we really want to give a value because we talked about the actual value that is so relevant nowadays. We must talk about who am I? So if I would be smart, I would share with you something personal about my life. And nowadays, the personal and the professional are combined together. They are not anymore apart. Even look at us now. You can watch my house. I can watch yours. You know, my kids can just pop in any second. We are mixing the personal and the professional, whether we want it or not. And even if we don't want it, even if we put a cover in the Zoom, people will find lots of information about us in the media, in the social media. So it's just a quick note, 1 minute, and I look at your Facebook or look at your LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever you have, and I will know lots of information that you might not want to share with me. So share who you are, share how you are. How you are is really about what is my style of speaking? What is my style of communication? What kind of a person am I? Am I interactive? Am I an outsider? Am I a very introverted, humorous, cynical, vibrant? What am I? How am I? It's not less important. But the most important question is number 4, which really creates a difference between those who leave a mark and those who don't, which is why do I do what I do? Why do I do what I do? Is why do I get up in the morning? Why do I do this Zoom? Do I just want to earn my living, or do I want to give an extra added value to people to leave a mark, or really to make up for their potential? What is the reason that I do what I do? If somebody tells me, well, I just want to be a lawyer, that's not the why. That's not interesting enough for me. But if somebody comes for mentoring asking, why do you choose to be a lawyer? The lawyer is just a tool. What is it behind being a lawyer that you really want to achieve? What is the why behind the profession of yours? And then if they tell me, somebody came last week and they said, I want to be a lawyer because I want to affect the law of human rights. Now, this is a different understanding. This is a different pronunciation. This is a different saying. If somebody wants to affect legislation of human rights, that's big, that's smart. Whether he gets it or not, that's a different story. But we are not responsible for the results. We are responsible for our intentions. Remember that. We can't really affect all results of what we do, but we can affect our intentions. We can have responsibility of our intentions and our actions, not on our results. Remember this, because so many people are afraid to go and do something, afraid to talk about something. Don't be afraid. We're afraid of the results. We're not afraid of the actual intention. So there's a huge difference between intention, action, and result. So the 7 habits quickly are the following. Number 1 is knowledge. We need to be great people who study and know a lot. And knowledge is not something that we learned in university. It's not something that I just gone to the piano and I know how to play this. So knowledge is not about what I know, it's how much I craft my profession and keep studying and keep learning, not just back then when I was in the university. But number 2 is, what is my expertise? What am I an expert at? Everyone has an expertise that he needs to know what it is. For example, I love doing what I'm doing, but I never do it for young children. So if somebody is asking me, could you do your lectures for a 10-year-old, I would say, no, I'm starting for 12 years and north. I wouldn't like to do it for very young people. And it's not that I can't do it well, but it's not my area of expertise. So know what you do well and know what you don't want to do and give it to someone else. Because once you say, this is not me, it's more authentic and it's you really gain credibility in a much better way. Number 3 is your experience. What is your experience? Now, experience is not the amount of success that you have. Experience is also the amount of failures that you have. We don't have time, but if you like, I would love to give a lecture about my 3 big failures in life. And I share them and it's very provocative. This is for another time. So amount of failures really build your success. And I think when I go to organization, I always ask leaders, take a piece of paper and please write your CV of failures That's what I'm asking. Write your CV of failures. The people are looking at me like I'm crazy. What? How come? And yes, admit your mistakes, admit your failure. If we can address them and talk about them, we are in a different league of leaving a mark. People don't want to hear just about our success. They can learn much better from our unsuccessful points. So this is really important. Now, number 4 is reputation. And reputation is a very tricky one, because what is reputation? Usually people say, well, reputation, I don't have control. It's what people think of me. Yes and no. We have a control over this. And really reputation is the actual bridge or the gap that we have between what we want to project or what we think we're projecting to what people actually perceive on us. And this is very tricky. Because as I said, you can have control of your intentions and actions. You can't have full control of the results. And it's very tricky. Now, I'll say one thing which is important. If you have a huge gap between what people think of you and what you actually are, that's a problem. You have to have a gap. You have to have a gap because this gap is our ego, and we need some ego to survive and make a difference. But if it's too much of an ego, too much of a gap, that's a problem. Okay? So always ask yourself, is my reputation and the difference between who am I really and what people think of me, is it too huge, then we are in a real problem. But if it's small, then it's okay. It's good. It's good. Number 5 is our behavior. Our behavior, it's very similar to the question, how am I? And our behavior can be, are we generous? Are we quick? Are we slow? Are we positive? Are we negative? Are we givers? Are we takers? That's another question. If you really want to leave a mark, you have to be more of a giver rather than a taker. So this is the whole thing of communication skills, and how do you communicate and how you give and how you really correspond to others. That's something so important in how people leave a mark. Number 6 is your originality and innovative mark. So you have to do things a bit differently. And not just do the job, but make things a bit crazy, nuts, differently. For example, when I do my concert lecture series here in Israel, I always say to people, you know, you can eat, you can drink, you can take photos, you can take films, and turn on your phones, don't turn them off. So rather than going against people and say, oh, turn off your phones, put them inside. No, I said, turn on, put them on silent, but use your phones on my concert lectures. You can tweet me, you can film me, you can enjoy. And this is different. So be a little bit original and creative, even in a small sense, but make a difference. But the last one is the most important one, because the last one is really what's your passion and your vision. If you have strong passion and strong vision, the why and the how of what you do, then you're in the right place. And my teacher, Christopher Elton in London, used to ask me every time I go on stage, this question that changed my life. He said, how much are you willing to pay to do what you do? How much are you willing to pay to do what you do? And I asked him, what? What do you mean how much are we willing to pay? I'm doing my job, I want to get paid. And he said, yes, of course you want to get paid, but are you willing to pay something for the experience? And then when you realize, wow, this is smart. Yes, I'm willing to pay to gain that experience of even doing my job. Then we're in the passionate place of life. And if you just say to yourself, well, I don't like my job. I do it because I earn a lot, or it's comfortable, or it's close to my home, or this is a tool for making a living, then we're in a problem. Now, don't forget, my life is not just about glamorous, beautiful dresses and beautiful halls and clapping. No, it's not just about, we love it, but it's not about this. It's really about sitting home and practicing endlessly. And again, each day, again and again. It's not, even if I say, oh, I know that piece, I played it hundreds of times, it'll be fine. No, it's not fine. It's not fine. You have to keep going and keep practicing. It reminds me, a beautiful lady who came to my concert series. I have to tell you this crazy story before we end. And she said to me, Orit, I'd love to invite you to give a private concert on Friday night in a week time. And she said, how much are you taking for that? And I said to her, well, I'm sorry, it's very flattering. Thank you very much for the invitation, but I'm trying not to perform on Friday nights. She said, why? Your husband doesn't let you go on Friday nights? I'm telling you, really, word by word. And I said, well, I don't have a husband. I'm a single mother. It's not about my husband. Are you religious? You don't play on Shabbat? I said, no, I'm not religious. I'm just very traditional. And I love what I do. But Friday nights are for me not to work. But I'll help you. I'll find you someone else to replace me and you will have a great party. And she says, no, I want you. Actually, my husband wants you. And she says to me, this is the 70th birthday of my husband, and he asked specifically to have you on his day. And you must do me this favor next Friday night. And I felt very embarrassed. And I said, Bracha, look, it's very flattering. And I'd love to help you. If it would be any other day, I would do it. But this is really, I can't this time, but I will help you. And then she was so stubborn, which I love, by the way. I love stubborn people. And she said, well, how much you taking? How much you charge? If it's a matter of money, don't worry, whatever you like. And I said, Bracha, it's not a matter of money, really. It's really not about money. It's about principles. But she didn't let off. She didn't go away. And she didn't stop. And then I said to myself, okay, just for the fun of it, I'll just tell her what I want. And let's see how she responds. And then finally, I gave in. And I said to her how much I wanted. And there was 30 seconds of complete sheer silence on the phone. Now, it wasn't Zoom. It was on the phone. And I didn't say anything, and she didn't say anything. 30 seconds, by the way, are a nightmare. They are like lifetime of silence. And then after a while, she says, all right, okay. I want you to play half a concert. It's half a price, isn't it? And I said to her, no, I'm sorry, Bracha, it's the very same price. And she said, wow, how dare you take the same amount of money for half a concert? And I said to her, Bracha, look, it's half an hour plus 40 years of hard work, of everyday hard work. You just forgot about it. And this was it. I didn't go, and she took someone else eventually. But I like to tell the story not because of an ego, but because really people do not understand. They think you give just half an hour. What's the problem? And she said to me, you just come, you eat French food. I bring you a special chef from Paris. You will have great time. I'll give you a taxi back and forth to your place. You'll just come, you do your work half an hour and you go. It's not half an hour. How many hours do we need to practice and prepare for this special half an hour for her? So I'm sharing you this because it's really a profession that is much more than coming to work. It's not 9 to 5 work. Your whole being is in your work. That's why the coronavirus really attacked us, the artists, because we don't have the ability to talk to people, because our language is the music. Our language is feeling the clapping of people, and we don't have the clapping. We don't have the ability to connect and verbalize. I have the Zoom, and most people just, they close their camera. So I even talk to those black holes with just a name tag on it. And that's why I so much appreciate that you open your cameras and you share this time with me. So I think because we have to end and time just runs by, is really to remember, in order to leave a mark, we have to have the knowledge, expertise, experience, reputation, behavior, communication skills, innovation, and passion and vision. If you have those, you're in a really special place. And I want to end up with a story of one of my best friends in London, Tamami Honma. Tamami Honma, a Japanese lady. And we studied together in London when we were in our early 20s. We didn't have any money then. We would go under 80 pounds a week. That has to, it had to also manage for the tram, for the underground. And every Sunday, the Royal Academy was closed, so we couldn't come in to practice. And Tamami would take me to Bond Street and New Bond Street and Regent Street. And even if you don't know London well, you definitely know that those streets are all about amazing shopping. So the best shopping places, the best stores, the great trends and marks, and all the best jewelry and dress are all there. And she would go in, the student dressed well, and try beautiful clothes and beautiful jewelry and just try them on. And one day I said to her, Tamami, why do you do this? We don't have the money for this. Please, let's go out. And she would go from Ralph Lauren to Tiffany, to Gucci and Hermes, and she would try everything. Ask her, why do you do this to me? We don't have the ability to buy anything here. Let's just get out. And she said to me one sentence that is with me for the rest of my life. And this is really about what made her leave a mark. He said, Orit, when I'll have the money, I'll know where to go and what to buy. She dared to dream. She dared to fantasize, which is so much important. People don't have fantasies anymore. They don't try their dreams. And then one day, Tamami became really very wealthy woman. I mean, she married a wealthy husband. But this is not a story of materialistic, because if you checked on her, Tamami Holma has 18 albums in Deutsche Grammophon, which is the highest mark of classical music. She really made a huge career by herself. And she knew exactly where to go and what to buy and what to send her Israeli friend overseas. And every year for Christmas, I get from her something special from those stores. Now, again, it's not about materialism. It's about willing to dream, be able to look ahead and dream for bigger abilities than you actually have now. So I wish for you really disruptions. I love disruptions and passions and dreams. And I just like to end up, while you have 2 minutes to think about your questions, just to end up with some Chopin music, which is my love is for Chopin. And I encourage you to write me and to contact me. It's not just a one-time event. Keren Esau is really bringing this up, and I'm so thankful for them for arranging this with so much generosity. But you can really write to me personally and continue this conversation. I'm on Orit Wolf at oritwolf.com. My name, my full name, at oritwolf.com. Let's just have some Chopin and then ask me anything you'd like. Thank you so much. That's really special. So I don't know what you wrote to me in the chat. I will take a look very quickly. Wow, we have so much, but I'd love to have you open your mics and ask me anything or say anything that you'd love. This is very special. Thank you so much.
Okay,
so
Orit, Orit, let me ask quickly before everybody else jumps in. What would have happened if you had played that concert without the missing key? Let's say you replaced it with the key next to it. Would anybody have noticed except you?
Yeah. I tell you what, it was a concert that was based on C sharp, and all the pieces by Chopin that evening were C sharp minor. I couldn't make it. I really couldn't make it. It was just in the middle, and the key would be used thousands of times. I couldn't have made it. That was a big, huge problem. I wouldn't make it. I'd actually not give the concert. I would actually say, sorry, it's not for my name to keep doing this.
You know, I'm a programmer, and we used to have a routine how to program to write a program when one of the keys on the keyboard is missing. How do you still can write a program to fix it, to get the answer that you want? So it reminds me of that.
Yes.
The other thing, it's more of a comment than a question. These 7 items that you mentioned remind me very much of how when I interviewed people for a job, these are exactly the kind of questions I asked them. It's how to get to somebody in a short time.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Beautiful remark, David. I agree. Those are the components of actually knowing people and ask people those questions about their failures and their reputation and passion and vision. Absolutely. Yes. And by the way, I like to train musicians and leaders in other fields not to have everything that they want. Because when you have all the tools you want, then you miss the idea. You have to have something missing and then you can act better. But not a missed key in the middle of the piano. This is too much. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Orit, I have a question.
No? Sure.
Of the 7 characteristics that you mentioned, which one would you say is the hardest for people to obtain, to really make it not just a characteristic, but a habit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the hardest one is the last one. Understand your vision and passion. Most people do what I do without asking, why do I do this? Or what's my message? Or what's my inner message for this? They just do what I do. They do what's needed. They don't do what's really the part of their passion to be. So we have to stop a little bit and being in the being and not just in the doing in order to answer this question better.
Are there any other questions?
Good. You know, just like to say to you all that music is not the notes. It's the time we take between the notes. And it's so wonderful for any other profession. It's not about music again. It's not what we say, it's the time we take between what we say. And those breaks of listening. Because, you know, most people really are great in writing, in reading, in speaking, but they're not so great in listening. And music is a great tool to encourage people to themselves and to one another.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so
Orit.
much. And I'd like to really also thank 3 great women here that are beyond and behind all this arrangement, which is Anna Rubin and Edna Weinstock and Sarah Sterusi, all those special women that arranged this special evening together. And I'm sure that our life will be crossed again. You can find me easily on Facebook, on Spotify, on YouTube. Be my friend, and we'll see you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Thank you.
Toda raba, Ori. Thank you
Thank you.
very, very much. It was fascinating.
Thank you.
Toda raba, Edna. Toda raba, everyone. This is wonderful to see your faces, and I really thank you for being with me, because it was so easily just to put the camera off, but you all gave me this pleasant moment to watch you as well, which makes the whole difference. I need to see the spark.
Thank
of
you.
your eyes.
So wonderful. It's all, everything is very, very special. Thank you.
Toda raba. Goodbye from Israel. Keep well and keep healthy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
תודה.
Bye bye.
Toda
Toda
raba.
raba.
Barabá. Thank you. Nossa, tinha bastante gente.
Thank you.